Alex stared at the small package lying on his doormat. It wasn't wrapped fancy or anything. Just a sleek metallic box with a note taped on top. He picked it up, weighing it in his hand. The handwriting on the note was elegant, confident, and slightly playful. "Hey neighbor, interested in a little training session? Come by at 6. Elena." He frowned and looked across the hall. Elena, his 8-year-old neighbor, was always a mystery. She lived alone, or so everyone thought, moving through the colony with an air of confidence that made people curious but hesitant to approach. Rumors said she had military experience, but no one knew details. She had been in the colony since before him, and everyone respected her for her skills, though few had seen her in action. Alex had met her a few times, friendly hellos in the hallway. Small talk at colony events, but nothing beyond polite conversation. And now, this. A personal invitation. Just for him. Training session? With her? He muttered to himself. What could she want with me? He turned the package over in his hands. It contained a small device. Nothing like the usual gym equipment. It looked like a controller of some sort, glowing faintly with alien tech embedded in it. His pulse quickened. Alex was no stranger to technology, but this was different. Elena's invitation was not casual. He had a feeling this was going to be intense. At 5:45, Alex found himself pacing outside her apartment door. He was wearing standard training clothes, comfortable but nothing fancy. And he had double-checked the package for instructions. Nothing obvious, except a faint glow on the device that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. He took a deep breath and knocked. The door opened almost immediately. Elena stood there, taller than he remembered, with a bright smile and piercing eyes that seemed to look right through him. Her athletic build suggested she could still outrun anyone half her age. Her dark hair was tied back in a tight ponytail, and she wore simple training gear, which somehow made her look both intimidating and approachable at the same time. "Ready, handsome?" she said, her voice playful. Alex froze. He wasn't prepared for that. His mind scrambled for a witty reply, but all he could do was nod awkwardly. Elena laughed softly and stepped aside. "Come on in. I hope you don't mind a little unusual training." Alex stepped into her apartment, which was surprisingly spacious for the colony. The living room had been cleared of furniture, replaced by a sleek training mat, and a set of devices that looked like they belonged in a futuristic gym. Screens lined one wall, displaying grids, numbers, and holographic images of strange creatures he didn't recognize. "Unusual," he repeated, glancing around. "You weren't kidding." Elena walked over to a corner and pressed a button. A holographic grid rose from the floor, stretching across the room. It displayed a virtual battlefield. Alien landscapes, strange terrain, obstacles, and moving targets appeared in 3 dimensions. "This," Elena said, gesturing to the hologram, "is not your typical exercise session. You'll be training your mind as much as your body." Alex swallowed hard. He had expected jogging, push-ups, maybe some basic combat drills. But this was something else. Elena handed him the glowing device from the package. "This controls the simulation. It's simple once you get used to it. Your goal is to navigate the challenges, avoid the hazards, and, well, survive." Alex looked at her, trying to read her expression. She seemed serious, but there was a spark of excitement in her eyes that made him wonder how much of this was fun for her. I've never done anything like this," he admitted. "Good," she said with a grin. "That means you have something most of the others don't. Humans are unpredictable. That's your advantage." Alex hesitated. Others? Elena's smile widened. "You'll see soon enough. Let's just start small." She guided him to the center of the mat and demonstrated. A small holographic target appeared, moving in unpredictable patterns. She moved with precise agility, tapping the device to match the target's movements, shooting small bursts of energy that made the target blink out of existence. "Your turn," she said, handing the device to Alex. He raised the controller, unsure of how to begin. The holographic target zipped across the room, faster than he expected. He swung the device awkwardly, missing entirely. Elena chuckled. Not bad for a first try. Remember, it's not about force. Watch the patterns, think ahead, and anticipate. Alex tried again. This time, he noticed a subtle rhythm in the target's movements. He adjusted, fired, and success. The target blinked out. Elena raised her eyebrows. That's more like it. See? Humans can learn quickly when they're paying attention. Alex smiled, a little embarrassed but proud. For the first time, he felt capable in a way he hadn't expected. The session escalated quickly. Obstacles appeared, holographic walls, shifting platforms, and fast-moving alien creatures with sharp claws and glowing eyes. Elena moved beside him, offering advice, correcting his posture, and occasionally teasing him. Not bad, she said as Alex narrowly avoided a creature. But remember to use your head. Strength isn't everything. Alex realized she was right. Unlike the alien trainees he had read about, who relied purely on physical power or pre-programmed strategies, humans could improvise, adapt, and think creatively. He began noticing patterns. The simulation didn't account for tiny inconsistencies in movement, predictable reactions when certain triggers appeared. He adjusted his approach, and for the first time, he felt like he wasn't just surviving. He was learning. By the time they paused, sweat dripping and muscles burning, Alex was breathless but exhilarated. Elena leaned against the wall, watching him with a smile that was both approving and challenging. "You've got potential," she said softly. "More than I expected. Most people don't even last this long." Alex felt a mix of pride and disbelief. "Really? I mean, it's just a simulation." Elena's eyes sparkled. "Simulations prepare you for reality. Out there, beyond this colony, things don't wait for mistakes. But humans..." She paused, letting the words hang. "Humans can surprise even the most advanced species." Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. She wasn't just talking about the simulation. There was a deeper meaning, something he couldn't quite grasp yet. They sat on the mat for a few minutes, catching their breath. The screens around them flickered and dimmed, the holographic creatures vanishing one by one. The room returned to its quiet, normal state. Elena stood, stretching lightly. "Tomorrow, we increase the difficulty. You'll need to think faster, move smarter, and trust yourself more." Alex looked at her, unsure whether to be excited or nervous. "I'll try my best. That's all I ask," she said, her tone softening. Then, with a playful grin, she added, "And maybe stop calling me intimidating. I like a challenge, but flattery doesn't hurt." Alex laughed, a little awkwardly, and nodded. "Got it. No flattery. Mostly." As he left her apartment and walked back to his own, Alex couldn't stop thinking about the session. Something had changed. He felt capable in ways he hadn't before, like he had glimpsed a side of himself that had been waiting for the right moment to appear. And then there was Elena. Confident, skilled, and just a little dangerous, in a way that made him want to rise to her level. "Tomorrow," he thought, gripping the glowing device in his bag, "I'll see how far I can go." For the first time in weeks, he felt excitement for the future, a feeling he hadn't realized he had missed. And deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. The next morning, Alex woke with a strange mix of excitement and nerves. He had barely slept, thinking about the previous evening's training session. The holographic simulation, the moving targets, and Elena's confident smile kept replaying in his mind. He dressed quickly, making sure he had his training clothes ready, and checked the glowing device one more time. Today, he knew, would be different. Elena had promised the difficulty would increase, and he had no idea what that meant. When he arrived at her apartment at 6 sharp, Elena was already there, stretching lightly in the center of the room. Her presence was calm but commanding, as if the entire simulation depended on her. "Good morning, handsome," she said with a playful smile, her eyes glinting with anticipation. "Ready for round two?" Alex swallowed hard, feeling both nervous and eager. "I think so," he said, trying to sound confident. "Think so isn't enough," Elena said, moving to the controls. "You'll need to act, adapt, and survive. Let's begin." With a press of a button, the room changed again. The floor lit up with new holographic patterns, more complex than yesterday's. Moving platforms rose and fell, alien terrain shifted, and multiple holographic creatures appeared, each with its own speed and attack pattern. The simulation was alive, reacting to every movement Alex made. Elena handed him the device again. "Remember, it's not just about fighting. Observation, planning, and timing are just as important." Alex nodded, trying to focus. He noticed that the creatures moved faster than yesterday, and the obstacles were trickier. One misstep could send him crashing into a virtual wall or get him cornered by a creature. The first few minutes were chaotic. Alex swung the device awkwardly, missing targets and nearly falling off moving platforms. Elena moved beside him, demonstrating subtle adjustments. "Anticipate their patterns," she said. "Predict. Don't just react." Alex paused, catching his breath. He watched the creatures carefully and began noticing small patterns, tiny pauses before a strike, slight changes in movement when approaching obstacles. He adjusted his strategy, stepping lightly on platforms and timing his attacks carefully. Slowly, he began hitting the targets with precision, dodging creatures, and moving smoothly across the shifting floor. He felt a thrill of accomplishment. Elena watched, a small smile forming. "There you go. Humans can think in ways machines and aliens can't. That unpredictability gives you an advantage." Alex felt a surge of pride. Yesterday, he had survived. Today, he was learning to control the simulation, and he realized something important. The more he thought, planned, and observed, the stronger he became. The simulation continued to escalate. Holographic creatures multiplied, and the terrain became even more unpredictable. Some platforms moved faster, some disappeared and reappeared, and creatures attacked in coordinated groups. Alex felt his heart race. He had never faced anything like this before. He relied on his instincts, but he also had to think creatively. He started using unconventional tactics, luring creatures into traps created by shifting platforms, tricking them with fake movements, and timing his strikes perfectly. Elena observed quietly, letting him experiment and fail at times, but stepping in only when necessary. "Good," she said after one particularly clever maneuver. "You're learning faster than I expected. That's why humans are dangerous in ways others can't predict." Alex couldn't help but smile, feeling a growing confidence. "I never thought I'd be good at this," he admitted. "Most don't," Elena said. "They rely on strength or speed. You rely on creativity and thinking ahead. That's your human advantage." The session took a sudden turn. A new set of holographic creatures appeared, larger and more aggressive. They moved in unpredictable ways, forcing Alex to adapt even faster. One creature lunged at him from the side, and he barely dodged in time, stumbling onto a moving platform that tilted dangerously. He felt panic rising. But then he remembered Elena's advice. Observe, anticipate, plan. He took a deep breath, analyzed the creature's movement, and struck at the right moment, neutralizing it. Another creature appeared, and he used a combination of speed, observation, and careful timing to outmaneuver it. Elena clapped lightly. "Now that's impressive. I didn't expect you to handle that so well." Alex's confidence soared. He realized that each challenge was not just physical but mental. He had to think creatively, adapt quickly, and trust himself. Humans were underestimated in the colony because others couldn't predict their ingenuity. And now he understood why Elena had brought him here. Minutes passed like hours. The simulation grew even more complex. with creatures attacking from multiple directions and platforms moving in erratic patterns. Alex felt exhausted, but he refused to give up. He relied on his instincts and creative thinking, making split-second decisions that kept him alive. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the simulation ended. The holographic creatures vanished, and the room returned to normal. Alex sank to the mat, breathing heavily, his muscles trembling but his mind exhilarated. Elena approached, smiling warmly. "You did more than survive. You adapted, improvised, and overcame challenges that would have stopped most trainees. I'm impressed." Alex looked at her, still catching his breath. I didn't expect to do that well. It felt intense, but also exciting. That's because you've tapped into something humans have that others don't: imagination, creativity, and resilience, Elena said. Those qualities can't be programmed or predicted. That's why humans are valuable in ways aliens often overlook. Alex felt a mix of pride and humility. He had survived yesterday, but today he had proved something to himself, something Elena seemed to see too. Elena paused and studied him for a moment. "You're different," she said softly. "You think beyond the obvious. That's why I brought you here. I see potential in you that others might miss." Alex felt a warm glow of validation. For the first time, he realized he was not just a participant in a simulation. He was learning skills, thinking creatively, and proving that humans could adapt where others could not. They sat together for a while, catching their breath. Alex noticed that Elena's smile was no longer just playful, it carried respect and admiration. He felt a strange bond forming, one built on shared challenge and understanding. "Tomorrow," Elena said finally, "we'll push the simulation even further. You'll face faster, smarter, and more aggressive challenges. I want to see how far you can go." Alex nodded, feeling both excitement and nervousness. "I'll do my best. That's all I ask," Elena said, standing and stretching lightly. "Remember, this is about more than survival. It's about thinking, adapting, and using what makes you human to overcome challenges that no one else can." As Alex left her apartment, he couldn't stop thinking about the session. The simulation had been exhausting, terrifying at times, but also thrilling. He had discovered a side of himself he hadn't known existed, a combination of courage, creativity, and resilience. And Elena, her confidence, skill, and subtle encouragement had made all the difference. He realized he wanted to rise to her level, not just to survive the training, but to impress her, to earn her respect. Walking back to his apartment, Alex felt a strange mix of emotions: pride, excitement, and determination. He knew tomorrow would be harder, but he also knew he could rise to the challenge. Humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and clever, and now he was beginning to see just how powerful that could be. For the first time, Alex felt like he was part of something bigger than himself, a journey where his unique abilities could make a real difference. And he couldn't wait to see how far he could go. The morning sun filtered through the colony's windows as Alex woke, his muscles sore but his mind buzzing. The previous day's training session had pushed him to limits he hadn't known existed. He rubbed his eyes and thought about Elena's words. Humans can surprise even the most advanced species. He didn't fully understand what she meant yet, but he could feel it. Something was changing inside him. He wasn't just surviving. He was thinking differently, moving differently. His mind felt sharper, faster, more creative. By 6 a.m., Alex was outside Elena's apartment, heart racing. She opened the door before he could knock, as if she had been waiting. "Good morning," she said with a bright, knowing smile. "Ready for today?" Alex nodded, swallowing his nervousness. I think so." "Think isn't enough," Elena said with a grin. "Today will be different. Today, you'll see why I brought you here." He followed her inside. The apartment was quiet, calm, and empty except for the holographic training equipment. But something felt different. The screens glowed brighter, and the holographic devices seemed more advanced, more real. Elena handed Alex the glowing device. "You've learned the basics. Now, it's time to test your limits. This session is more than just a simulation, it's a trial." Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. "A trial?" "Yes," Elena said. "A real test of skill, creativity, and survival. What you've faced so far was preparation. Now, you'll face challenges designed to see if humans can truly adapt where others fail." Alex swallowed. He didn't know what to expect, but the excitement in Elena's eyes was contagious. He realized he was no longer just training. He was about to discover something much bigger. Elena pressed a button, and the room transformed. The floor shifted into uneven terrain. Holographic trees and rocks appeared, casting shadows that moved as if touched by real sunlight. Alien creatures began to emerge, faster and smarter than before. Their glowing eyes tracked his movements, and their claws scraped the ground with realistic force. "This is no ordinary simulation," Elena said. "The creatures will adapt. If you repeat the same action, they will anticipate it. You must think creatively, use your instincts, and most importantly, stay human." Alex took a deep breath. He remembered yesterday's lessons: observation, anticipation, creativity. But this felt different. The stakes were higher. The creatures were unpredictable in ways he hadn't experienced. He started moving cautiously, studying the terrain. A creature lunged from the shadows, and Alex ducked just in time. He swung the device, hitting the holographic target with precision. Another creature appeared, faster this time. He leapt onto a moving platform, dodging its attack, and used the device to manipulate the terrain, creating a temporary barrier. Elena watched silently, her expression calm but intense. "Good," she said. "Keep thinking. Keep adapting. Humans have an advantage others don't, they can improvise." Alex felt a surge of confidence. He realized that no matter how advanced the technology, no matter how smart the creatures, humans had one strength: unpredictability. He started using the environment creatively, throwing holographic rocks, luring creatures into traps, and timing his movements perfectly. Minutes passed like hours. The creatures became faster, smarter, more coordinated. They attacked in groups, forcing Alex to think several steps ahead. He dodged, struck, and improvised, using everything he had learned. Each success gave him confidence. Each mistake taught him a lesson. Finally, the simulation paused. The holographic creatures vanished, and the room returned to normal. Alex was breathing heavily, sweat dripping down his face, but he felt exhilarated. Elena stepped closer, her eyes studying him. "You've done more than survive," she said softly. "You've adapted, improvised, and demonstrated creativity under pressure. That is why humans are valuable in ways others often underestimate." Alex felt a mix of pride and confusion. I didn't know humans could be that important." "One." Elena smiled, a rare softness in her expression. "It's not just about physical strength. It's about thinking differently, making decisions when no one else can, and adapting in ways that machines and aliens cannot predict. That is what sets humans apart." Alex nodded slowly, beginning to understand, but he still had questions. "Why me? Why bring me here? There are other humans in the colony." Elena's gaze softened, and she gestured for him to sit. "Because you are different. You think beyond the obvious. You observe, adapt, and innovate. Most humans can survive, but few can thrive under pressure the way you can. I saw that potential in you from the moment we met." Alex felt a strange warmth in his chest. He realized that Elena wasn't just testing him. She was guiding him, shaping him into someone capable of more than he had imagined. "There's more," she continued. "This colony is not alone. Beyond our borders, other species watch, learn, and sometimes threaten our existence. We need humans who can think creatively, act decisively, and survive when others fail." You could be one of those humans. Alex's heart raced. You mean, real missions? Yes, Elena said. This is the first step. The simulation is designed to prepare humans for situations where intelligence, creativity, and unpredictability are the only advantage. Out there, you'll face real threats, and your choices will matter. Lives may depend on them. Alex's mind whirled. He had always thought of humans as fragile in comparison to advanced alien species. But now he realized something important. Humans had something unique. They could surprise, adapt, and overcome challenges that others could not. Elena placed a hand on his shoulder. I believe in your potential, Alex. But potential alone isn't enough. You have to trust yourself, trust your instincts, and embrace what makes you human. That is the key to survival and success. Alex nodded, determination replacing his fear. He realized that Elena wasn't just his neighbor or his trainer, she was a mentor. Someone who saw his potential and was helping him reach it. The next part of the session began. The holographic creatures returned, more aggressive and intelligent than ever. They moved with a coordination that mimicked real predators, forcing Alex to rely on everything he had learned. He dodged, struck, and adapted, using the environment in creative ways. He manipulated platforms, distracted creatures, and improvised strategies on the fly. Each success reinforced a growing confidence he could survive, he could think creatively, and he could overcome challenges that others might fail. Elena observed quietly, occasionally offering guidance, but mostly letting him experiment. She smiled every time he used a creative tactic, her eyes reflecting both pride and admiration. After what felt like hours, the simulation ended. Alex was exhausted but exhilarated. He had faced the most challenging session yet, and had survived by relying on his instincts, creativity, and human ingenuity. Elena approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder again. Today, you've proven something important not just to me, but to yourself. Humans are not weak, fragile, or predictable. You've shown that you can adapt, innovate, and survive where others cannot. That is why humans matter. Alex felt a deep sense of pride and understanding. He had discovered something new about himself, about the strength, creativity, and resilience that defined him as a human. Elena stepped back, smiling. Tomorrow, we will push even further. You will face challenges that require not just survival, but leadership, strategy, and decision-making under pressure. Are you ready for that? Alex straightened, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known. Yes, he said firmly. I'm ready. Elena nodded, her expression softening. Good. Remember, it's not just about skill or strength, it's about thinking, adapting, and trusting yourself. That is what makes humans extraordinary. As Alex left her apartment, he felt a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had learned something important. Humans were underestimated, yes, but that very underestimation was their greatest strength. They could think creatively, act unpredictably, and survive where others might fail. And he knew one thing for certain. Tomorrow would be even more challenging. But for the first time, Alex felt not fear, but excitement. He was beginning to understand what it truly meant to be human, and to have a role that could make a real difference. Alex woke early, heart pounding. Today was different. Elena had been vague about what would happen, but her words from yesterday echoed in his mind. Tomorrow, you will face challenges that require not just survival, but leadership and decision-making under pressure. He dressed quickly, grabbing the glowing device and a small pack of supplies. He wasn't sure if it would help, but he felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. This wasn't just training anymore. When he arrived at Elena's apartment, she was already waiting, standing by the door with her usual confident smile. Ready for your first real test? She asked, her voice calm but serious. Alex swallowed hard. Yes, I think I am. Elena nodded. Good. Today, you will see why humans are valuable. Not just in training, but in situations where other species might fail. She led him down to the lower level of the colony, where a transport shuttle waited. The interior was sleek and practical, built for speed and maneuverability rather than comfort. Alex's pulse quickened. "Where are we going?" he asked. "You'll see," Elena replied. "Consider this your first field mission. Don't worry, it's controlled, but you will face challenges that cannot be simulated perfectly. You'll need to adapt." Alex's stomach twisted in both fear and excitement. He had survived simulations, but a real mission? That was entirely different. The shuttle lifted off, and the colony shrank beneath them. Alex pressed his hands against the window, staring at the alien landscape below. Towering rock formations, glowing rivers, and swirling dust storms stretched across the horizon. It was beautiful and dangerous. Elena sat beside him, her gaze steady. Out there, other species often underestimate humans. They think we are fragile, predictable, weak. But we have something they don't: creativity, adaptability, and courage. That is why we survive. Alex nodded, absorbing her words. He had felt it in the simulations, and now he was about to see it in real life. The shuttle descended to a clearing near a settlement under threat. Smoke rose from the distance, and Alex could see alien drones hovering around, scanning for intruders. The humans in the colony were outnumbered, and the aliens' technology seemed far superior. Elena turned to him. "This is it. Your first real challenge. Observe, plan, and act. Remember, strength isn't everything. Think, improvise, adapt." Alex felt his heart pound. He stepped out of the shuttle, the ground firm beneath his feet. He could feel the tension in the air, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. The alien drones spotted them immediately. Beams of light cut through the clearing, scanning for movement. Alex ducked behind a rock instinctively, feeling fear spike, but he also remembered Elena's advice. Observation first, plan second, act last. He noticed a pattern. The drones scanned in predictable sequences, with tiny pauses between sweeps. Using that knowledge, he signaled to Elena. "Wait for the pause, then move to cover near the settlement," he whispered. Elena raised an eyebrow but nodded, trusting his instincts. Together, they moved in short bursts, using the terrain to their advantage. They reached the edge of the settlement. The human defenders were pinned down, struggling against the drone's superior firepower. Alex scanned the area, thinking quickly. He spotted discarded energy cells and nearby crates. He whispered to Elena, "If we can trigger the energy cells near the drones, it might create a distraction." Elena nodded. "Do it." Alex moved carefully, positioning the energy cells strategically. When the drones scanned too close, he triggered a controlled explosion. Sparks flew, light flashed, and several drones were temporarily disabled. The human defenders seized the moment to advance. Alex felt a rush of adrenaline. The plan had worked, but there were still more drones incoming. He needed to keep thinking, keep adapting. He noticed the drones' patterns changing. They were learning from the explosions, scanning faster and moving in unpredictable ways. Alex realized that brute force would no longer work. He had to think creatively. He looked around and saw a narrow canyon leading behind the drones. "Elena, we can flank them through the canyon." "It's risky, but it might work," he said. Elena smiled, a mix of pride and excitement in her eyes. "That's why humans are dangerous. You think differently. Let's do it." They moved quickly, keeping low and silent. The drones, focused on the settlement, didn't notice them until it was too late. Alex signaled to the defenders, and together they attacked from behind, catching the aliens off guard. The drones scrambled, confused by the unexpected tactic. Alex used the glowing device to coordinate movements, sending signals to the defenders, and creating temporary barriers using available terrain and equipment. Every move required timing, observation, and creativity. Minutes felt like hours, but gradually, the tide turned. The aliens retreated, regrouping far from the settlement. The human defenders cheered, exhausted but victorious. Alex felt a mix of relief and exhilaration. They had succeeded not because of superior strength, but because of thinking creatively and acting unpredictably. Elena clapped him on the shoulder. See? That's the advantage humans have. Others underestimate you. And that is where we win. You adapted when it mattered. And your creativity saved lives. Alex smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride. He had faced a real threat and survived not alone, but by using his human abilities to their fullest. As they walked back to the shuttle, Elena's expression softened. You did well today. Most humans would have panicked or failed under pressure. But you... She paused, her eyes meeting his. You think, you adapt, and you act. That is why humans are valuable. And Alex felt something shift inside him. He understood now that being human wasn't a weakness, it was a strength. The combination of creativity, adaptability, and courage made humans unpredictable and effective in ways others couldn't imagine. Back on the shuttle, Elena glanced at him. Tomorrow, we train again. But remember, real missions are out there, waiting. And one day, you might be called to lead, to make decisions that others cannot. Humans have the potential to change outcomes when no one else can. Alex nodded, determination burning in his chest. I'm ready, he said firmly. Elena smiled, a mix of pride and teasing in her eyes. Good. But don't get cocky. We still have a long way to go, and I'll be watching closely. Alex laughed, despite his exhaustion. I wouldn't have it any other way. As the shuttle lifted off and the colony came into view, Alex reflected on the day. He had faced a real challenge. One that tested his mind, body, and instincts. He had learned that humans were not just survivors, they were innovators, problem solvers, and leaders in ways others couldn't match. He felt a growing confidence, a sense of purpose he had never known before. And he knew that with Elena's guidance, he was only beginning to unlock his potential. For the first time, Alex truly understood what it meant to be human, and why humans could make a difference. Even in a galaxy full of advanced species and technology, and deep down, he knew that the real adventure was just beginning. The morning air was crisp as Alex stepped out of his quarters. Today was different, he could feel it. The simulations, the field mission, the intense training sessions, all of it had led to this moment. Elena had been quiet this morning, her eyes thoughtful but alert. She had said nothing, but Alex knew she was preparing him for something significant. Ready, handsome? She asked finally, her voice carrying the familiar playful edge. But underneath it, there was seriousness. Alex smiled, feeling the confidence he had earned over the past days. Elena nodded and led him to the transport shuttle. Today's mission would test everything he had learned, thinking, adapting, and acting under pressure. It would be the final challenge, the real proof that humans could make a difference where others might fail. The shuttle lifted off and descended into a vast valley. Smoke and fire marked the aftermath of an alien strike. Drones hovered menacingly above the human settlement, and soldiers were pinned down, struggling to defend their home. Alex's heart raced, but his mind was calm. He had survived simulations. He had faced a real threat, and he had learned to trust his instincts. Today, he would prove that humans were more than underestimated, they were extraordinary. Elena glanced at him. Remember, observation first. Think ahead, and don't just react. Humans succeed when they adapt, innovate, and act decisively. Alex nodded, gripping the glowing device. He scanned the area carefully. The drones moved systematically, but he noticed a subtle pattern in their patrols. Their sensors rotated in arcs, pausing briefly before scanning again. He turned to Elena. If we use the terrain to our advantage, we can approach without being seen, he whispered. Elena raised an eyebrow, impressed. Go on. Go on. Alex pointed to a series of rocky outcrops that created natural cover. We move in short bursts, staying behind the rocks. Once we're close, I can use the device to create a distraction and disable their sensors temporarily. Elena nodded. Perfect. Let's do it. They moved cautiously, ducking behind rocks and shifting shadows. Alex's pulse pounded, But he focused, remembering everything he had learned. Observation, anticipation, creativity. The drones scanned the area, but Alex timed their movement perfectly, moving only during the brief pauses in the sensor's sweep. When they reached the right position, Alex activated the device. Sparks flew from the nearby machinery, creating smoke and confusion. The drone's sensors flickered, giving the human defenders an opportunity to strike. The humans advanced, taking advantage of the moment, but more drones were incoming, faster and smarter than before. Alex realized that brute force would not work this time. He needed a plan. And fast. He scanned the terrain again and noticed a narrow canyon behind the drones. "We flank them through the canyon," he said. "It's risky, but it will give the defenders the upper hand." Elena's eyes lit up. "I like it. Humans think differently. Let's move." They darted through the canyon, staying low and using every rock for cover. The drones, focused on the settlement, didn't notice them until it was too late. Alex signaled to the defenders, and together they attacked from behind, creating chaos among the alien forces. Alex used the glowing device creatively, manipulating nearby machinery to create temporary barriers and traps. He improvised constantly, predicting the drones' movements and outsmarting them. Every action required focus, creativity, and courage, everything that made humans unique. Minutes felt like hours, but gradually, the tide turned. The drones were overwhelmed by the humans' unpredictable tactics. The defenders advanced, gaining control of the settlement. Alex's mind raced with ideas, constantly adapting to new threats and changes in the battlefield. Finally, the remaining drones retreated, their superior technology no match for human ingenuity. The human defenders cheered, exhausted but triumphant. Alex felt a mix of relief, exhilaration, and pride. They had won not because of raw power, but because of creativity, adaptability, and thinking outside the box. Elena approached him, her expression a mix of pride and amusement. "See? That is why humans matter. Others underestimate you. And that is where you excel. You adapted, you improvised, and you led when it mattered most." Alex felt a warmth in his chest. For the first time, he understood what Elena had been trying to teach him. Humans were not weak, fragile, or predictable. They were clever, resourceful, and capable of achieving extraordinary results in situations others might fail. Elena smiled, her eyes reflecting respect. "Today, you didn't just survive, you led. Most humans would have panicked, but you thought, adapted, and acted. That is what makes humans extraordinary." Alex nodded, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. He realized that his training, his instincts, and his creativity had made a real difference, not just in simulations, not just in controlled exercises, but in reality. Back on the shuttle, Elena finally allowed herself to relax. "You did well," she said softly. "I knew humans were valuable. But seeing you in action, it confirms everything I hoped. You are capable of more than you realize." Alex smiled, feeling both pride and humility. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance," he admitted. "You taught me to trust myself, to think creatively, and to adapt." Elena's expression softened. "I guided you, yes. But the actions, the decisions, they were yours. That is why humans are extraordinary. You think, you adapt, and you act in ways no machine or alien can predict." As they approached the colony, Alex looked out at the horizon. The human settlement was safe. The drones were gone, and the defenders were cheering. He felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. Elena placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is just the beginning. There will be more challenges, more threats. But now you know something important. Humans can make a difference. Your creativity, adaptability, and courage are your greatest weapons." Alex nodded. "I understand. And I'm ready." Elena smiled, her usual playful tone returning. "Good. But don't get too comfortable. We still have a long way to go. And I'll be watching closely. Alex laughed, despite his exhaustion. I wouldn't have it any other way. Over the next few hours, the defenders secured the settlement, repairing damage and treating the wounded. Alex and Elena worked alongside them, coordinating resources and making quick decisions. Alex realized that leadership wasn't about giving orders. It was about thinking ahead, guiding others, and using creativity to solve problems. By evening, the settlement was safe. The sun set over the valley, casting long shadows across the terrain. Alex stood beside Elena, watching the humans celebrate their victory. You did it, Elena said quietly. Today, you proved that humans are not just survivors. They are innovators, leaders, and problem solvers. And you exemplify everything humans can be. Alex felt a deep sense of pride and fulfillment. He had faced real danger, made difficult decisions, and succeeded. He had discovered what it truly meant to be human, and how powerful that could be. Elena smiled again, a warmth in her eyes. See? I told you humans were something else. Alex laughed softly, feeling the truth of her words. He had learned, grown, and proven himself, and he knew that with guidance, determination, and creativity, humans could face any challenge, overcome any obstacle, and survive against any odds. As night fell, Alex felt a sense of completion. The training, the missions, the challenges they had, all led to this moment. He had discovered his potential, his human advantage, and the value of thinking creatively in a world full of threats. And he knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning of a journey that would take him beyond the colony, into the stars, and into challenges that would require every ounce of human ingenuity. But for now, he was proud, confident, and ready for whatever came next.